So Martin Scorsese has done it again. Yet another fantastic piece of work in Killers of the Flower Moon. Of course, tells the story of Ernest Burkhart, played by DiCaprio, returns from World War I to stay with his uncle William King Hale, who's a prominent businessman and deputy sheriff. Slowly but surely, murders start taking place. No one knows what's going on. The relations between the Osage Indians and William King Hale's people break down slowly but surely, and no one knows what's going on. When this film ended in cinema, I was just sat there absolutely stunned. The performance of Leonardo DiCaprio needs to be talked about. I feel that this could be his career best. Now, DiCaprio has done so many performances, obviously, so many physical performances. He's put so much into it, but this, for me, there was something about it, just scene after scene. There's a scene here where DiCaprio is getting interrogated by the police, and it's just an acting masterclass. This slimy, this grimy, this cowardly jerk of a man, money hungry. He hasn't really got any convictions of his own to stand up for himself. He's kind of under the thumb of William King Hale, so he's just such a nasty, cowardly piece of work. But somehow Scorsese, like he always does, has us sympathise with him. Once again, Scorsese returns to what he does best, which is making us sympathise with terrible people. Killers of the Flower Moon is all about grey areas. It's all about things not being black and white, people not being objectively evil, and we spend time with people who usually would be painted in films as just evil, you can't remotely relate, you can't remotely engage with, but Scorsese forces us to. It's about how Ernest is loyal to his family at his own detriment, to a terrible person who is manipulative. It's a film about manipulation and getting into people's heads, and that's exactly what William King Hale, played by Robert De Niro, does. It's a film about how people can have you on their side and you can spend your whole life dedicated to them and you're blinded, but it doesn't seem that way to you. You're just willingly being gaslit. De Niro, of course, has a powerhouse performance as William King Hale. It's different to anything he's ever done. I'm so impressed that De Niro is, at this age, still the greatest actor on the planet, still giving us performances that blow our socks off, still experimenting with acting.
They're gonna go. Their time is over. It will happen.
The film is like a great novel, like a lot of Scorsese's films. I almost feel like with Scorsese, you don't watch his films, you read his films. Like he wraps you up the way that a novel would. And these characters are just so interesting to just hear them talk. And that's what this film is. It's basically these characters talking for 3.5 hours, and yet you're on the edge of your seat just as much as any action movie out there, any other film, because the performances are just first class. They really are. Like the commitment, I think that's the key word in this film. The commitment to the performances, the delving deep, the trying to capture that time period and these characters fully, is what makes this work. It's a film that you really feel. It's a film of such power and such depth and such a feeling of underlying dread and paranoia and confusion and worry. As always with Scorsese, like he seems to be someone who's able to rehash the same themes but just deliver them always in a different way, like in a completely different setting. The Osage Nation in Oklahoma in this film, you feel it. You feel like you've gone back and visited this time. You can smell it, you can experience it. It's so convincing, it so jumps off the screen, it's so absorbing. And it's just a new canvas for Scorsese to explore his themes of loyalty, of greed, of the human condition. There's incredibly quiet sequences in this film of just characters sat there feeding off each other's energy, not always having to say something. There's moments of quietude in this film where we take in the underlying tension between the characters, and this would not have worked if it wasn't for these stunning performances. You can watch these people just sit there with minimal dialogue, and when a line comes out, you're hooked. That's what's so perfect about this. It's incredible this story happened. It's a story that reiterates and focuses on the immorality of humanity, the greed, the idea that back here people would screw each other over at any cost. People had no limits. It's a story that shows the depths of how low human beings can sink, but also how human beings can justify it to themselves. There's an incredible sequence in this where Ernest tries to stand up to William and tell him he's done with him. The way that De Niro delivers this seedy, horrible presence of William, like he'll just open his mouth and whatever the situation is, he can still slip his way back underneath Ernest's skin, and that's a really disturbing element of this film. And you're always scratching your head and wondering what really these characters are feeling in this film. Scorsese never makes it 100% clear. He never lets you really know what kind of a person Ernest is truly, or where William King Hale's true motivations came from. He leaves a bit of ambiguity, but you still feel like you know the characters really well, but there's still questions to be asked. That's what keeps you watching to the end of this really, really long film, because you're always thinking things over in your mind and gradually peeling back the layers. This is just an incredible film. It really, really is. It's full of breathtaking scenery, wonderfully shot film. It's a film that breathes. It's a film that has such attention to detail. You know, it's such a slow burner. And I feel like with this, and obviously with his film before this, The Irishman, that's what Scorsese is doing now. He wants to make novelistic films. It's not an especially fun film. It is a nihilistic film. It's about the hopelessness of the human condition and the mistakes we make. But it's fascinating. While it's not got his quick-cutting, crazy style, it does have some incredibly lingering shots in this. For example, the fire sequence where you see De Niro watching the flames. That sequence really, really is going to stick with me. There's an incredible moment where there's a tracking shot where Scorsese follows him up to the house that's been bombed. That was incredibly powerful. Like, he's really going for that. He's really going for shots that linger and you don't forget them. Uncompromising moments where you're forced to engage with things that you won't believe. This film is a staggering piece of work. It may sound like I'm overselling it, but I love Martin Scorsese. You'll know if you love my channel, I do love the guy. But I do truly believe this is one of the best films of the year. It's between this and Oppenheimer for me of what's the best film. What do you guys think of Killers of the Flower Moon? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to talk about this film with you because I'm just in awe of it personally. Please consider subscribing to this channel if you love talking about Scorsese movies. I've got lots of Scorsese reviews on the channel, lots of gangster movie reviews, lots of stuff on here for movie geeks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.